I'm about to say something that will scare the life out of you. Blueprints. I know, don't shit yourself or anything. It's been the talking point for the past week or so more than anything for the fact they actually brought them into the game regarding Endfield, you guys already know. And a lot of people are kind of surprised at the reception, but this shouldn't be something that you should be surprised with. And that's what we're going to kind of be talking about today, okay? Because as you guys know, we got the blueprint announcement in the Arknights Endfield livestream. There was a mixed reaction at best. A lot of people don't really care. The people who actually care about this game don't care. Essentially, people are just mad that quality of life is being added to a game, which is a crazy mentality to have. It essentially has brought the game to a level where more people can play it, therefore spreading the IP and spreading the love of it. So it's friendly to more people, ergo the game gets bigger, the game gets more popular, you know? No one sits there and says, damn, I wish World of Warcraft was failing and barely making it month to month and had a smaller fan base so I could have my personal enjoyment of the annoyances in it for farming. No one said, what kind of mentality is that? It makes no sense. But that's kind of what's happening here. Now, the direct announcement video on this didn't really necessarily get too much hype or anything because it wasn't a live stream. This is like a secondary upload that Endfield did put up. I am in the camp of it doesn't matter if it's out of the game, and I don't think that's even more an opinion. That should be more of an objective fact, but digress. And you can see a lot of people are kind of saying, yeah, you know, I'm sold. I want to build modular factories using a collection of small self-made blueprints. You can use them for yourself. You don't have to use them for other people. A mindset I never really took on to just then. Factoria's blueprints too, it becomes helpful when they're working on one's own factory. Exactly. People kind of go on and on and on. And this is the main point that a lot of people should really be siding with. Blueprints are good. I don't see why people are complaining about it. You don't got to use them and they won't stop making new factories for you to have fun with. They are making the blueprints for people who don't want so you can keep having your fun. Blueprints are saving the factory, otherwise the game factory since will be popular. And that's one thing I did want to touch on. A lot of people are of the mindset that blueprints are essentially the game and the devs quietly quitting the factory side of things, and it will be an afterthought when the game comes out. For anyone who's actually played the game, keep in mind, it's been in closed beta and closed pre-alpha, so it's not like a lot of people have had their hands on it. I have played it. Luckily, I've been fortunate enough with the ability to play it for each time we've had a beta, barring the alpha. I wasn't around at the time. But people really do believe that this is a net negative when you actually think further into it and play it a bit more. The factory is actually there to build gear. Just as much as a portal or a rift in Honkai Star Rail that costs you 40 stamina is to get gear. It is the exact same system, it has just been gamified in a factory sense versus a farming sense. It is a passive farm versus a daily farm. Now, I don't know how that's being glossed over and people think factory is deeper than that. Yes, you can add your own turrets and everything like that for sure, and you can have other things building passively like buffs, equipment as I previously mentioned, food buffs. Essentially, like, the list does go on. I haven't played the game in a year, so I am blanking on a few of the smaller details and nuances. There is a subset game mode called Outposts, which is essentially the base Arknights base building system and Bloons tower defense, where when they run in, you have 30 units in the run, you go destroy them all before they hit the main base, and you have 3 lives, identical to base Arknights. That is more or less a different idea than the base. Base and Outposts are similar, but nuances that make him different. So I don't know why this is such a make or break. It's not like you could play the factory for 500 hours off rip. It's just not a thing. It just is not. And if people played the game instead of doing eye tests, we would be good. But we're not. And that's kind of the shame. Anyway, going further into this, I wanted to mention that I have made a video on this a year ago. 10 months ago to be exact. This was when people from the Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves community were trying to play this game, or excited to play this game, and Arknights people just said, hey, yeah, you know what, we're good, don't ever touch our game, don't sully it with your disgusting, foul, dirty hands, right? Which is just so dumb. You can even see I ended it on saying, let's be civil about it, because in the embodiment of this video, also, I don't know what the hell I was cooking up here, this is a beast of a human being, in a bad sense. Anyway, this whole video was mainly because there was a giant post on the Arknights Endfield Reddit, which essentially said, hey guys, don't let certain people play this game because they will ruin our game. Which is infuriating because we've gotten to the point where people have direct enjoyment that correlates to who is not affiliated with a game, which doesn't make any sense. It's a video game. I didn't have a ruined experience from playing Final Fantasy Remake, when it came out because certain people I didn't like played it. No, God, no, that doesn't make any sense. I still loved it and thought it was probably the best game of the year at the time. This game, and you cannot use that as it's single player, this is multiplayer. It's not. You can add friends in it, sure. But that's where the buck stops. There is no direct game modes or anything that's like PvP or anything as of yet. It might be added in the final version, we have no idea. But it is at its core a single player game. You shouldn't care who plays it. You shouldn't care who doesn't play it. Judge it on your own merit versus what you're watching online trying to be part of a hopping trend. Because after the first week of when a game comes out, it does die down. No matter how popular the game is, it does. And then the same thing goes on for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, so on and so forth. It is optional to join into any community and get very, very, very deep into it. I have never done that with any community because I love the games for what they are, and I don't need other people gassing me up or letting me into an echo chamber that tells me the game is the best when I already know that. That is just unhealthy, okay? It's like surrounding yourself with yes men, be critical of the game, and allow people to be the same of you or your opinions on the game, and vice versa if you want to interact. Be civil about it, don't be insane. Now, I mentioned this after this tirade, because on this video here, I mentioned that, hey, let whoever you want play the game, all that kind of thing. It doesn't mention, at any point, factory. I want you to know that, because we're going to go into the comments, right? I've preloaded all the comments here, and if I was to go Control F, factory, the 7 direct matches, and if I also use the word filter, 12 matches. This is a 4K view video with 200 comments. So like essentially 1 in every 20 people left a comment. Majority of them are pretty much saying I'm wrong, which is interesting. Let people play a game. Hot take, I know. And it's still a year on is apparently a hot take. A lot of people think as well, it has an automatic gatekeeping filter because it's not a super hack and slash game. Yeah, I don't know about that. After us seeing what this game has turned into, that no longer applies. Not that it's a bad thing, but to put up these borders and put up these walls in your head that it is exactly that, and it will be filtered and everything will be okay because we get to keep it small and failing versus large and successful is very, very silly. Again, no hate to anyone in these comments, and even at the time, I did agree to it to an extent. Now that we have seen the end result of the game, it doesn't matter, but some people may matter. Not saying the people who left these comments necessarily hold that opinion still now. A huge shout out, and a lot of credit does go to Super for generalizing that people should be playing the game. It makes it better at its core. We would rather have 1 billion players than 100, right? A huge credit to Super for saying that because it's been a year of people just internalizing this as creators and dealing with it on the back end, right? But yeah, the further and further we go, as a natural gatekeeper, factory building. But it's not a gatekeep because it's not a game mode people are putting that much stock in. It's not even really a game mode in its own right. It is a feature of the game. But that doesn't mean it's going to get into lives or anything like that. Now, if I was to go back and do what I previously did with the word filter, this is where it's pretty funny. Arknights has history of having horrible people in the community, and it kind of sort of ruined Arknights, but this is besides the point. Filters out toxic people. It's again, whatever. The de-emphasized the combat will filter most of them out anyway, and the Factorio style gameplay and de-emphasized combat will filter them anyway. Not the case anymore. Shouldn't bother you anyway if that is. Where is the next one? I think the game will filter themselves because the game's overall gameplay and looks, again, no longer the case. It is still hack and slashy, minute amount of RTS in it, if you want to even really call it that. And the list just goes on. The more you go in, they get filtered out. Filter. The Factorio filtered a lot of crazy people. The game's not even out yet, and at this point, the beta wasn't even out yet, which is interesting, but I digress. It has been something a lot of people, I can definitely see the factory filter out the toxic players, which is ironic because the people who are saying the factory is going to be the natural filter are necessarily the people who think Blueprints will destroy the game. Why do you want, and this is strictly to the people who have the game in a mindset that it is holier than thou and untouchable and perfect if you play it, and if you play it and complain about so much as anything regarding the factory or the RTS combat style, which by the way was terrible and they fixed it, thank you so much Hypergriff and Griffline, why do you think it does demerit the game in any way, shape or form? It just doesn't add up, right? The game is here to be enjoyed by as many people as possible. Let's keep it that way. Because the more people who play the game, ergo, the more money the company gets, the more ambitious they can become with it. We saw this with Wuthering Waves. Regardless of player count, and we saw Tencent come in and put the infinite money glitch into the game, it turned into an absolute slaughterfest. It was just hard diffing pretty much everything in the space from a graphical standpoint and from a gameplay standpoint and from a world view standpoint. The terrible storytelling in 1.0 was one thing. Tencent came in, worked their magic, infinite money glitch, and you saw how the devs could cook with that. So why would you want to take that opportunity away from having a lot of monetary revenue possibilities with it to give to devs to cook with it as the game goes on? It just doesn't make sense. You want a game to fail for your own weird fixation on it should be a niche borderline indie game because you don't want the word to get out. You want to gatekeep and be a weirdo about it, sure, but you're not going to be winning anyone over like that, okay? And in Super's video that he did create that I mentioned prior, he did have a good string tweet in there, which I think is worth reading because it does sum up the majority of these people. And again, I want to stress, the people who are wanting this to be in the game with no blueprints and pure cock and ball torture trying to get anything fucking done are not the people who speak for the majority. They are the minority, they are the vocal minority at that, but the fact that they want to go through such lengths, creators or otherwise, even personal players with no followings on Twitter and stuff, just trying to boycott and push people off the game because they want a blueprint system for quality of life, they need to be called out. But anyway, back to the super tweet. I'm going to be honest, lads, it makes a little no sense to whine about blueprints when in Endfield, what's the difference? People who don't know how to base build probably look up YouTube videos anyway, which was, again, a great point at the time when we first had people addressing the idea of blueprints that got shut down very quickly. Now, I want this to be very, very clear because it might not be already. I personally didn't want blueprints in the game, but that being said, as soon as I saw them announced, I was sad for about 2 seconds, and then I went, oh, if you don't like him, just don't fucking use him. It's crazy, right? What? I didn't think it was that hard of a, thought process to realize if I just don't use them, they are not in the game to me. It is also a single-player game. A single-player game. A single-player game. Why are we pretending it is something bigger than that? No one else involves with you unless you want to share your blueprints. And unless you want to boycott, or gatekeep them, I should say. Not boycott. But yeah. They'll look back anyway. If you can base build the blueprints off of you, and that's the best point here. It's about elitism. They want to feel superior to Hoyo games. Super is addressing mainly the people here out there who think they are above everyone else because it's like, my game is not Hoyo slop. My game is not Kuro slop. My game is genius, which is just so fucking dumb. They're all video games. They're a waste of time. They all spend your money. Why are we splitting theirs? Do not be mistaken. For most of the whiners, it was never about artistic integrity. It was always about the game appealing to them specifically and thusly one-upping the Hoyo slop. The game is taking a shape that they personally deem unfit compared to how they personally envision the Endfield should be. The more the game resembles a classic Hoyo title, the more they cannot feel superior to Hoyo players anymore. It's an ego thing. It does not stop some of that crowd though. The goalposts have been moved from Hoyo could never be my peak factory builder game to shame those that use blueprints. And that's the best way to put it. People want to condemn people for using a system in the game that's in the system to make lives easier because keep in mind, although the base is simple and it really gives you 3 main things in buffs, gear, and I guess you could even maybe argue fulfillment, maybe even turret base building if there are like random RNG raids or whatever it may be in the future. Again, who knows? Second beta coming up in 2 weeks. It is still a very time intensive thing. It takes a lot to min-max, because when you go from, let's say, blue gear to purple gear, or purple gear to pink gear to gold gear, whatever it is, you have to essentially strip and rebuild the base from scratch to get to that next tier efficiently. And that takes a lot of time. Some people do it yourself, some people blueprint. You have escalators next to stairs. I took this from the Arknights blueprint comment section, by the way, full transparency. If you have blueprints, which are the escalators, and you have manual building, which is the stairs, you don't just knock down the stairs and force everyone to use the escalators. And you also don't turn off the escalator and force everyone to use the stairs. They both exist for a reason. Some people have to use escalators. Some people have to use stairs. Again, not a crazy concept. But yeah, anyway, this is turning into a bit of a rant, so I will cut it there, but I do want to end on the note of saying this game is for everyone and anyone. Don't let the deterrence of these just sad sacks, best way to explain them, push you away from what this game is. It is a beautiful, fun game as a man who's played the beta, and I'm excited for the second beta, which I'm already guaranteed to be playing, okay? So if there is anything you guys want to know, or wish to see, please let me know in the comments, or join my Discord and let me know there. And I will hear out people in the comments, but I cannot understand the mentality of this game is at a lesser state than it was prior to the announcement of Blueprints. It is a feature. What are we doing here? If you're baking in your kitchen, okay, would you rather use a hand whisk to get real fluid aeration for the cake you're making, or would you rather use an electric whisker? you virtually get the same thing. Maybe the manual one takes a lot longer, but you do get that little bit extra. And we're talking that little bit extra aeration for the cake to make it that littlest bit fluffier. But who really cares other than yourself? Which is the point of all of this. Can you guys tell I went to culinary school for 2 weeks? Crazy, I know. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching if you got to this point. Agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, let's not be a dick about a game coming out. Let's be optimistic. The gacha space is past the drama baiting stage. I want to keep it that way. Love you all. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye now.